start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
From the LindsayCars.com studios in the nation's capital, WJFK-FM and HD1 Manassas, and WPGC HD2 Morningside. Sports Junkies all morning.
Pathetic, pitiful performance.
There's not one special member of that coaching staff.
We mentioned Finley while you work.
Everybody got to get better.
The kid's going to get killed.
Grant and Danny on your drive home.
That team sucks. This is a mess. They're awful.
Sports Radio 106.7 The Fan. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
106.7 The Fan. Sports Flash.
I'm Earl Forsey. We're brought to you by MGM National Harbor. Maybe it's time for another visit to MGM National Harbor. With all the damage that Ron Rivera is going to leave in his wake in a couple of weeks when changes are made in Ashburn, add quarterback controversy to the list after a couple of weeks where Sam Howell has been benched. Rivera announced today he's not yet ready to make a decision on a starting quarterback for Sunday's game against San Francisco. Ron saying they're working through a couple of things and will likely make the announcement on a starting QB tomorrow. Now, for San Francisco, coming to town this week, Kyle Shanahan said today he expects their QB Brock Purdy to be fine after suffering a stinger and last night's loss to the Ravens. There's a little uncertainty about former Washington tackle Trent Williams, though. He left last night's game with a groin injury. New York Giants still unsure who their starting quarterback is going to be for Week 17 after Tommy Chicken Parm was benched for Tyrod Taylor Monday in their loss to Philly. Vikings tight end T.J. Hawkinson out the final 2 weeks of the season after suffering a knee injury. When was your last visit to MGM National Harbor? Did you make your full house on the river? Were you the star of the table for holding the dice for 30 minutes? Did you pay for your meal with the one long shot at Tap Sports Bar? Maybe it's time for another visit to MGM National Harbor. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER. From the Crop Metcalf 5-Star Sports Desk, I'm Earl Forsey on The Fan.
Danny on 106.7 The Fan and the Odyssey app.
Grant Danny here on 106.7 The Fan, the youngest in charge, Rupert Linnell Willingham, alongside the DOC, Rick Doc Walker, in for G&D here on the day after Christmas. We're brought to you by Chinika Miles. Join the mission at careers.mios.com. Normally in this spot here on G&D, we get you caught up with all things DC sports and the Beltway Blitz. We travel around our DMV, but I don't know if you know, about 6 minutes ago, the Rooster just finished up over on our sister station, the Team 980. He is kind enough to join us here in studio. We're going to go blitzing with the Rooster here on G&D. What's going on, man?
I mean, you know, if there's anybody that possibly could screw this up, it would be me. Hello, boys. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Happy holidays.
It's another Tuesday,
My
baby.
two guys. I mean, Tuesday was not the same. I got to say, Tuesday was not the same without the DOC. Now, he did allow us to have him in for a cameo appearance.
Oh, you did
Yes.
Did you clear that with his people?
Well, you know.
Rooster is exempt. He gets whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Tell them they can send the invoice for you here to my account. They can send that to my account.
But yeah, Tuesdays was not the same without the DOC. Wednesday's not going to be the same without you. But of course, I'm not in tomorrow or the rest of the week.
Big silly.
The DOC is. The DOC gets to argue about Ron Rivera's decision to start Jake from State Farm this Sunday.
Huh? Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm in for you.
Yes.
But he's not in. He's normally on Wednesdays.
He's normally on Wednesdays.
A staple.
Listen, you guys are going to have to sort through this and figure this out.
Well, Doc's on a minutes restriction, so if he needs to tag me in, I'm available always.
Well, I'll have to ask.
Oh yeah, have you heard this? That you're on a minutes restriction?
Yeah, only because your budget. You guys have a limited budget. So I matched the budget.
But
I'm about to cough my lungs
when
out.
When he busted this out last Wednesday,
I heard it.
I mean, I said the disrespect for
it's not.
a legend,
It's
for a
respect.
Super Bowl winner,
respect.
LeBron James is only
He's got a limited. Yeah, well,
LeBron's
I love saying. I have to see. It's just reconfirming what I believe in, and I'm like a foreigner on another planet.
Oh God!
And I'm being surrounded by losing and losers, and I refuse to submit to them because they're trying to suck you into it.
I thought you were talking about us being
No.
We're the dream team.
I'm talking about the idea that you have teams and nobody wins.
Yeah.
And you start to accept it.
Yeah.
And they get you to pay for gear, pay for tickets, pay for parking, pay for everything, even though they underachieve consistently.
Yeah.
And pretty soon, they've locked you in. Yeah. It's like they're on your credit card. You can't take them off.
Yeah.
No matter what happens.
Yeah. That's a good point.
You know, and you get abused. I feel like I'm being abused.
I saw too many familiar faces in the crowd. You know, I just saw Tailgate Ted at MetLife. You know, and somebody got mad at me when I said, hey, you know, Commanders fans, you're crazy if you go. I was just like, hey, man, it's Christmas Eve. It's a long drive.
Right.
Come on, man.
You know, the weather could be weird. You know, it's two, non-playoff teams, two horrible, quarterback situations, all that. And it turned out to be a great game. Or a great competitive game.
But it wasn't supposed to.
But it didn't work. Right. It wasn't supposed to be. Right. And it was uncompetitive for one team in the first half. And then the team that was uncompetitive in the first half and did everything they could to throw up all over themselves suddenly woke up like a bear out of hibernation in the middle of March in the second half and said, oh, this is how we're supposed to play football.
Chris Russell, can I ask you a question?
Yeah,
I'll get us right into it.
Because I missed my Tuesdays when he defends the establishment, and I go, wow, what do you mean all of a sudden?
You're being accused of being a company man.
So how did they come back?
Yeah, but how did that's what I wanted to ask. Why did they come back?
Well, they came back because Jacoby lit the lamp. Because he led the way, just like Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer. It was Jacoby, you know what I'm going for here. Jacoby was the lead reindeer. He was the leader of the pack. He was the guy taking Santa's sleigh home.
But I thought they couldn't protect anybody.
I'm about to say, I thought
the offensive line was horrible. I thought the receivers couldn't get open.
What did we argue about a month ago?
What happened?
Who's more important? The players or the coaches? And I argued the coaches, but clearly you were right, Chris Russell.
Again, the players are more important.
Are more important.
Of course. I mean, the scheme didn't work for Sam Howell the last however many games, and it's been a lot. But the scheme clearly has no problems with Jacoby Brissett.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, obviously the other team is not playing as hard.
No, they're in prevent.
And they're in prevent,
sure.
and they don't need to win, and so, yeah.
Chris Russell goes, sure. Yeah. Did you not catch how sarcastic he was being?
I'm teasing.
No,
I'm also allowed to be sarcastic, damn it.
No, really, trust me. I'm like...
I mean, listen, I'm happy for Jacoby. I think it would be criminal if you don't start him this week, even though it potentially hurts the overall cause.
That's what I'm saying.
Right? But if you're Ron, you owe it to your locker room. You're asking these guys to put their bodies on the line, to not quit, not give up, to not even roll over and play dead when you were a clown show in the first half of Sunday's game, right? You are asking these guys to put their bodies on the line, their careers, their whatever. And I understand tape, will show things and new staff and the rest of the league and all that stuff. You're still asking them to not quit and roll over and play dead on you. To me, you owe it to them. Again, it hurts the overall cause of not winning, which is the number one overall cause, not winning. But you owe it to the people in your building to play Jacoby Brissett from the jump on Sunday against the 49ers, period.
What is Ron going to say when big bad Josh Harris calls him to the office and says, well, Ron, you told me this year was about developing this kid, yet you've sat him 2 weeks in a row.
So
it makes your plan look idiotic.
Right. Well, so here's the deal. I know you and Grant, you guys are all up in your feelings about this, and maybe there's some others.
We just want consistency, Chris.
Okay, I don't. First of all, diarrhea has been coming out of that man's mouth for a long time. Okay, so you people take it so seriously what he says in front of the media. First of all, he's got to talk to the media 5 times a week. Okay, he doesn't know what to say. Nobody knows what to say. He just says things that make no sense. Now, as you and I have talked about, I did agree with the plan to go with Sam Howell because everything else had failed, and I didn't want them surrendering other assets, i.e. on Lamar or whoever, Derek Carr, whatever. I know, but I didn't want this regime wasting any more assets for the future and getting it wrong, okay? So I didn't have a problem. But what I do take umbrage with is for everybody to run around acting like because Ron's been preaching a message for the last 10, 11 months, and he has, that he has no right to bench the starting quarterback. That's what I take umbrage with. He does have a right. If Sam is awful, he has absolutely that right. Sam has been hideous. He hasn't been he hasn't been average, he hasn't been mediocre, which is what this staff is built on.
1.7
He's been
QBR
awful.
on Sunday was the worst all year.
He's been hideous. So he has every right. And again, Ron has to worry. Yes, people think it's self-preservation, this, that, the other thing. Ron has to worry about the locker room. Ron has to worry about asking those guys to go as much balls to the wall as you possibly can when your season is over, as he's asking them. And he's got to make sure that he starts the right guy or plays the right guy or pulls the wrong guy when the opportunity is there. And we talked about this when you guys were in studio with me last week. So nobody should have been surprised. Said, Sam Howell should start. Jacoby will play at some point over these next 3 games.
100%.
And don't be surprised if it's way earlier than people think it should be, i.e. against the Jets, and maybe even before halftime, and it turned out to be halftime. Nobody should have been surprised by this. It's called common sense, people. Regardless of the diarrhea that has been coming out of his mouth for years, it doesn't matter. All that matters is Sam Howell, no offense to Sam, sucked and has sucked for the last month plus, and Jacoby Brissett obviously has responded in back-to-back games, and he should get the start. And if that leads to an unintended win, it's life.
SmackDown this Friday, and I feel like I'm right now getting the treat of my life. That sounds like a Wednesday to me, and I'm listening to my guys, and this is priceless. I hope people understand that they can go back and get this on the Odyssey app. And this is gold, radio gold now.
I'm going to push back on something you said. And we and Doc discussed this in the first hour and a half of the show.
Yeah, I was busy, so.
Yeah, a little busy.
What are you doing the other job?
It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube as well at the Team 980. For the folks on YouTube watching the stream, sorry I didn't have the comment section up during that last segment, thus did not know that our audio had an issue. We are working on fixing it. For right now, you're going to get a slightly different feed, but you should be able to at least hear me. So that's good, and then we'll get the full feedback here in a few minutes. The engineers are working on it; they're great, but they can't fix it if they don't know there's a problem. So we have to let them know, and we will pick that up on the YouTube stream expeditiously. So in lieu of all that, let's get back to it, shall we? Back to 1st and 10, and pick up with number 4. I have watched this football team closely since 2015, and that first half is about as bad of a first half of football as I've ever seen. And I've seen some bad ones. I've seen some bad ones specifically in that stadium. Think back to some of the Giants Commanders games back in the day, end of season. Everyone's just ready to be done. I've seen some really bad ball, but offense, defense, special teams failing that spectacularly in succession to the point that you're down 27-7 to the Jets at halftime. A Jets team that had scored like no offensive touchdowns in the first quarter all year. I think it was literally like 1. And you gave them like 6 possessions in the first quarter. It was insane. That first quarter took forever. And it was all basically the Commanders' fault. And it's interesting because you think that there can't be more new lows for this organization, and yet we continue to find them every single week. By the way, Anthony, I'm hearing a beeping noise right now. What's happening today? Is it in my studio? Is it over the air? Are you hearing it? Did Russell leave a booby trap in here? Yeah, it's something that's beeping in this studio, which is fantastic. In the middle of a radio show, an audio medium. I don't know what it is. And you know what? We're just going to apologize to everyone who can hear it beeping in the background. I'm going to do my best with my ADD. Anthony's going to go see if he can figure out what it is. And we'll just continue to mark this up to Tuesday being Tuesday. What happens when a Monday and a Tuesday come together? Chaos. Oh, and now it stopped. Because of course it did. What kind of cursed day? This second segment so far is the Washington Commanders in the first half against the Jets. That is what is happening right now. Maybe I should be less critical. Can happen to all of us. Circumstances beyond our control. Point is, all right. The run game continues to remain effective, and this would be my one huge gripe with Bieniemy in all of this. I don't know what his aversion to success is, especially for a guy that played running back in the league. Like, Rodriguez was averaging almost 6 yards a carry for nearly the entire game. Gibson had a bunch of plays that he turned -3 into 1. His average yards after contact had to be 4 or 5 yards in this game. He continues to find slither ways, and Rodriguez rolled his ankle late in this game, and Gibson might have to just be the starter next week. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe he'll actually get the football. You're one of your most talented players. It is wild to me that they cannot find ways to just consistently get guys carries that are being successful. And when I say find guys carries, I mean call run plays. I don't need to be coy. Like, for a quarterback that was struggling, for an offense that was doing well when they were running it, why the aversion to doing a thing that is working, that doesn't have the risk of your quarterback having to quarterback when he is incapable of quarterbacking? I don't get it. Number 6 in our 1st and 10 observations from the game on Sunday. Benjamin St-Juste, to me, is like the Sam Howell of this defense. I don't think he's actually as bad as he has shown this season, specifically recently, but it's clear he is walking on a razor's edge from a confidence standpoint this season, and he keeps cutting himself onto that razor, and the season can't come to an end fast enough for him. Now, he is hurt. Perhaps he will not play this weekend. We do not know yet, but he, like, some of the PI calls, I actually feel bad because some of the penalties that were called on him were pretty soft. And I feel like the reputation calls, because everybody is picking on Benjamin St. Juste every week, and there are penalties called him every week. Some of them are legit, some of them are soft. But it is clear, like, he's not up to this task. Quit putting him on Garrett Wilson. Quit putting him on the best receivers in football. He can't do it. And at some point, it becomes not about the player, but about the coaching staff. But I also do wonder, next year, with better coaching, after he had Brett Wieselmeyer coaching him for much of this year, who was good enough to get fired, all due respect, is he better? I think from a physical ability standpoint, he's shown he can be better than this. But the defense pitches a shutout in the second half until that very end, large part without him. And it's because the Jets and everyone else loves to pick on him. So quit exposing him. And also, by the way, Emmanuel Forbes played all right. Ron in the press conference today was like, oh, he still made some mistakes, still some, whatever. From a production standpoint, he had a hell of a lot better game than Benjamin St. Juste. And I hate that for BSJ because he's a great kid. But Emmanuel Forbes is your first round pick. Benjamin St. Juste is getting murdered. Make the freaking switch, Ron. What did Emmanuel Forbes do to Ron Rivera? I don't get it. That said, the defense has continued to play better since Rivera took over. They have been faster, more physical, and they've actually done this crazy thing called generate turnovers. The Cody Barton pick is fantastic. The biggest mistake Rivera made this year, arguably, is not replacing Jack Del Rio with himself sooner. Yesterday, they played actually pretty well. They were a victim of circumstance. The Jets snapped the ball in their own territory, most of which inside the red zone for basically every play until the fourth drive of the game. They had another short field off the final interception from Howell. They had multiple short fields because of special teams. Like, they got no help yesterday and were able to hold on, but still, I mean, they give up an explosive play in the run game. They give up a couple of drives to a Jets offense that is abysmal. But they ultimately played 90 snaps yesterday. Like, PFF counted it out for 90 snaps. What NFL defense can hold up over 90 snaps? And by the way, they actually did hold up because they were better late than they were early. But good gracious, that was terrible. Speaking of terrible, that is the worst special teams game I've seen an NFL team play in my entire life. Literally my entire life. In the first half yesterday, they gave up a blocked punt. They fumbled a kickoff. It was a muff by Pringle. He recovered it, but it cost them mega field position. They had the Crowder whoopsie-daisy fumble-rooski play. You had the illegal touch to give up extra field position by Christian Holmes, which is just a mindless play. They get off the field, the defense does, holds up in a major situation, 4th and 3. Tariq Castro-Fields jumps off sides as a gunner. What? You're supposed to run backwards. I know you want to get a good jam, but what? Never seen that before. Gives up a first down. Jets score on that drive. And they also, all of that is in the first half, and then they had some more penalties and issues in the second half. Joke of special teams. That unit has been largely good all year. Yesterday, nightmare. The Jets had a 3rd and 28, a 2nd and 40, committed 14 penalties and won. There's no analysis there. That's just a statement of fact. That is a thing that happened yesterday, or on Sunday. The Jets had a 3rd and 28, a 2nd and 40 on separate drives. 3rd and 28, 2nd and 40, committed, I believe it wound up being 14 penalties, and they won the football game. And they won in part because Ron Rivera still just refuses to math the math when it comes to game management. They score to go down 7. To go down 7. They decide to kick an extra point to go down 6 instead of going for 2 and being down 5. Now, why is that important? Because with about 10 minutes left in the game, it is perfectly feasible that the Jets would get another field goal. So if you're down 6, well, then you can... if you're down 6 and the Jets kick a field goal, you're down 9. that's bad. If the Jets, or if you're down 5 and the Jets kick a field goal, you're down 8. Well, now it's 1 score. Or if you score again and you get the 2-point conversion, then after you get the first one, you could be up 3 and prevent, I don't know, a game-winning field goal. That's exactly what happened to you. And the downside is if you miss the first 2-point conversion, you're still down 7. So you're only down 1 touchdown and extra point. You can either kick the extra point and go to overtime, or you can try a 2-point conversion should you score, like they did, and you could win the football game. So all in all, terrible decision-making from Ron Rivera. They could have, if they just tried 2-point conversions, had 30, been tied. But all in all, I'm not mad about it because better draft position. And more proof that Ron Rivera is not up to the game management part of being an NFL head coach, something that has been true for his entire NFL head coaching career. That is 1st and 10 here on the Hoffman Show. Amidst the beeps, amidst the audios, we fought through it. We finished strong because that is what we do. We also give you a take command, even if it's Christmas. Logan wasn't able to join, but how about some insight from our guy, Mark Bullock? Nobody watches the tape quite like Mark does, grinds it out, always has such great analysis. So we got into the Howell-Brissett distinctions, why Howell struggled, why Brissett succeeded, and we disagree, actually, on what should happen next. Mark and I's instant reaction from Sunday's game. Next, it is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app.
That really want to attract people to follow them.
Oh, my God.
Make it so easy that you can remember them.
Here we go.
Hey, how do I follow Doc? Just go to Rick Doc Walker. And it's bingo. They're on X, Instagram, whatever. Simple. Now, why would I put an underscore or some initials that somebody's got to remember what the initials are, right? So you make it an obstacle course to remember me. BT something. And who does an underscore? Seriously. And I said this now, I met him. It's been almost 2 years. I said, look, Slim, let me be honest with you. I got to try to help you. Lose the underscore. You know what I mean? And see, his pride.
Hold on, Doc. Can I ask you a question though? And the boys in the room can answer this as well. On Sundays,
it's time to take command with former NFL tight end Logan Paulsen and former Commanders beat reporter Craig Hoffman.
It's the Take Command Instant Reaction Show. I am Craig Hoffman. That is definitively not Logan Paulsen if you're watching us live on YouTube. The box in the StreamYard next to me. That is our good friend Mark Bullock, who is stepping in with Logan, doing Christmas with his family. Texted me earlier today going, hey, the wife has got some stuff planned, so I don't think I'm going to be able to join. I was like, all right, who can I get that has a great analytical mind on things? And was, of course, the first person that came to mind. So, Mark, appreciates you stepping in, and what a game we have to talk about.
Yeah, it was quite the roller coaster there, but yeah, thanks for having me. And yes, I'm definitely not Logan Paulsen.
No, definitely not Logan Paulsen. There's a little ginger, shade to your hair, though. That or it's just the lighting.
I think it's just the lighting. Yeah, I've got some pretty bad lighting here.
I'm trying my best here to get you on Logan's face. So the Sam Howell's benched again. That is the big story, obviously. And not only is he benched again, Jacoby Brissett comes in, and all the dude does is apparently lead touchdown drives. And I think that obviously sparks a very interesting conversation about the offense. Eric Bieniemy, so many of us have been so critical of him, but it's like, well, Jacoby can do it. And I think, Mark, where I land on this, and I'd be curious to get your thoughts on it. You've written a lot about it at your Substack, markbullock.substack.com. Highly recommend, especially if you like our podcast, if you want some of the visuals. Mark talks about so many of the same things we do because, well, the film doesn't lie. The film is the film. So I think what it proves is, like, it's not a bad system, but it's the wrong system for Sam Howell and where he is at his career. The marriage between Bieniemy and Howell is a bad one. That is where I have been for a long time. I've never doubted that EB was a good coach, and there was a long point this year where I thought Sam could be a pretty good quarterback, but the way he has leveraged, the amount he's asked to do, it just never seemed to be a long-term formula for success, and I think like all this is actually confirming that. Is that me just having confirmation bias, or have you seen some different stuff this last month worth of games from Sam where maybe your opinions on some of this stuff has changed and evolved a little bit?
For me, I think it's kind of, I feel like it's been a bit of a regression from how, like, earlier in the season, we saw the development in him being more willing to take what the defense gave him. And sort of after those first few weeks of the season when he was taking lots of sacks, he started to calm it down and understand, okay, I can't just look down the field constantly. I need to take what they're giving me. If they're taking away deep shots, don't get bored taking those underneath balls. And there was a couple of those in this game where one of the first few drives, they had a little choice route out of the backfield and it was seemingly wide open. Obviously, we need the all-22 to be 100% sure of that, but it looked like it was open and he scrambled. Instead of taking that throw underneath, he was looking down the field, didn't have that, scrambled out of a relatively clean pocket and threw the ball away, and that led to a 3rd and long, which he got sacked. So, and then, there's other plays where there was a 3rd and 7 where he seemingly had Logan Thomas in the flat for what would have been a first down. The catch would have been short of the chains, but there was no defender within 5 or 10 yards of Thomas, and there would have been some yards after the catch opportunity for a first down. But he's not taking those underneath throws that are there for him, and that was something he did a much better job earlier in the season when he was playing with more rhythm and more confidence. He was getting the ball out decisively to those underneath balls, and they were picking up yards after the catch and moving the chains and keeping drives alive. And that's just not happening in these last few weeks, and for whatever reason. And that is a sign of regression for me. And that is you see the difference when Brissett comes in and he's decisive and getting the ball out on time. The offense does work when you have a quarterback that doesn't get bored of taking what is given to him and getting that ball out on time and in rhythm, and the offense can work. But that's just not what Howell's been the last few weeks, and it's a discouraging thing for sure.
Yeah, I do think, like, on a large philosophical level, nothing has changed, because if you think one of the quarterbacks coming out in the draft is better than Sam, you should take that quarterback. And that would be true whether Sam was killing it or whether Sam is getting killed. It's just the bar for which better than Sam exists at is getting lower and lower by the week. And emotionally, it feels like there's no way that, like, Jaden, the kid out of LSU, Jaden Daniels, even any other college quarterback right now, you're like, can't be worse than this, because the last couple of weeks you can't be much worse than this at the NFL level. And it's exactly what you said. It's taking the layups. And I do think this offense, Michael Harmon did a good job with us this week from the Reception Perception podcast, comparing this offense to many others. The layups, there are just so many more of them in many other offenses. A lot of other offenses speak to the skill sets of their skill position players much better than this one has. That's coming from a guy who watches wide receivers, specifically the top ones, all around the league every single week, charts everything. But by the same token, if he being Sam, would just take the layups that are there, this offense would be much better. And by the way, you might be able to create some more layups because you'd be able to sustain drives on down the list. And I think you're also reminded, Mark, how damn good, like, Terry McLaurin is. You get the ball in his hands on something short, quick. He breaks 3 tackles, and all of a sudden he's 40 yards down the field. He can do that every game. Jahan Dotson is a factor. Like, he has totally disappeared this season. The second Brissett comes in the game, whether it's drawing a PI, whether it's just, a deep target open out something else, getting the ball in his hands, Jahan Dotson matters. And it's really frustrating, because I do think for a lot, there has been a regression and things have changed, where for a lot of this year, I didn't love what EB was doing, but Sam was playing well enough, and there was enough good things happening. And just the last couple of weeks, it's all gone to hell in a handbasket. And you see Jacoby come in and do this, and it does make you rethink everything you thought earlier.
Yeah, it's I think that point about not being the offense not being sort of individual enough to the specific receivers that they have is a good one. And I wrote about last week about how Eric Bieniemy, it feels like he's running a system and he doesn't really care who gets the ball. And when you have a bunch of playmakers, that's fine. Because you can trust, one of them's going to get open and one of them's going to make a play, whoever it is. But you look at other offenses around the league, and they have a bunch of playmakers, and they scheme up different packages specifically for those playmakers, and then they mesh those packages together so that, you're not having to rely on just one or two playmakers. You have a package of things where you have one or two guys that are your prime targets on those plays, and hopefully those are the guys that make the plays, and then you have your backup options. But this offense seems to be more about the system and, understanding that you can progress through whatever the coverage gives you, and each play is going to have an out against all those different coverages. But it kind of limits I don't want to say limits the ability of those receivers, because as we saw today,
it doesn't enhance it.
No, exactly. It doesn't enhance those receivers. It doesn't feature like Terry McLaurin. It doesn't feature Jahan Dotson.
Yeah.
The closest we've seen the past few weeks is with Curtis Samuel lining up in the backfield, and they do that little option route with him, or against a few weeks ago, I can't remember who, they had that wheel route off of that option fake. Like that is the kind of package of where you're highlighting that guy's ability, and that it feels like Curtis Samuel is the only one they've done that for, and they could easily do that kind of stuff for Terry McLaurin and all the other weapons they have, but they don't. I don't think it's a bad system. It's just a very West Coast system that is all about understanding what the defensive coverage is, understanding your pre-snap information, processing that correctly, and getting the ball out on time. And when your quarterback is doing that efficiently, it works. And as we saw, like earlier in the season, when Howell was playing efficient, it was working, and the ball was being spread around, and they were doing all right. But when when the quarterback isn't always efficient, and when you've got a young quarterback like Howell, he's not always going to be efficient. You would rather see them build in some kind of protections for Howell in having schemed up stuff for McLaurin or Dotson, or, feature those playmakers and let them go make plays rather than just saying this is our offense and we're going to run it.
Totally. Matt gave a great example of Houston in the way that they noticed Nico Collins is great at running out, breaking out. Tank Dell, great in breaking routes, and they'll stack them up and have Nico go out and Tank go in, and both of them win. Like they're when we talk about detailing it up, like that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. And then to your final point there, if it's about timing and reading stuff quickly, that's not going to work with a young quarterback. Like, that's not how this guy has ever been. It wasn't how he was at North Carolina. And so, again, it's not a bad system. Sam might not be a bad quarterback, although we have more questions about that than ever. But it certainly is not a match made in heaven, and currently it's a match made somewhere else. Which leads us to, what do they do moving forward? Because that is obviously the topic that dominates the week for us on sports radio. It's something you're going to write about, I'm sure. It's something that everyone is going to be talking about all week long. So we get to get our first crack at it here on the Instant Reaction Show. Start Sam Howell again next week. And frankly, by the time we get off the air and the time that a lot of people hear this tomorrow morning or Tuesday morning, if you're, spending Christmas with your family instead of listening to your favorite Commanders podcast, you'll hear what Ron Rivera has said post-game. My guess is Ron post-game will say, we're going to evaluate everything, which is probably the correct answer. I think for Sam Howell's sake, you cannot start him next week against San Francisco. They are going to destroy him. They are going to eat him alive. It's very clear mentally he needs a more significant reset, and that he is just lost right now with what he's supposed to be seeing and where the ball's supposed to go, getting it out on time. He's seeing ghosts. He's vacating, clean, not getting the ball out on time ever. He's guessing, almost never guessing right. Even when he does guess right, he's like surprised that he guesses right. Sometimes where like you see him be like, oh, the ball's supposed to go here. And like the throwing motion is like super elongated and weird. And then he throws the ball in the dirt. It's terrible right now. So, of course, you want to see what he is, but I think for his sake, Mark, like for his literal personal safety, you can't start him next week. I'd go Brissett, and I can't believe I'm saying that because there was almost no scenario where I thought that was possible going into the week.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I just kind of feel like Rivera's made this whole season about Sam Howell. And he spent the whole season going, we've at least found our franchise quarterback. And even if I get fired, we've found the quarterback, and I feel like I've got some legacy here. If they have now they've benched him in back-to-back games. If they then bench him and don't start him next week, they don't have their franchise quarterback. Like, if you don't bench your franchise quarterback of the future, at which point, what exactly does Rivera have to hang his hat on for the past 4 years? Like the defense, the team is worse than it was, and they don't have the quarterback of the future. What are we doing here? If Sam
Obviously, Mark, $80 million in cap space and 5 top 50 picks. That's what everybody wants after year 4.
Yeah, and it might well be a top 2 pick at the way they're going, but it's like I kind of feel like they've backed themselves into a corner where they have to play Howell because they've got no other choice. Like, what else is Rivera doing here? If he's not playing Howell, then like just fire him now.
Thought about that during the game as well, and really, where I was texting about it with one of the beat reporters, and I was like, I'd consider it based off how this is going. This is obviously before Jacoby starts leading the comeback. Not that really helps anything, but I think to go to a third defensive play caller, and because the offense had been so bad, like, do you really want to just put EB in charge of things? Also, I think with Harris at this point, are you just like, you know what? They're getting closer to that top pick. I don't even have to go full Philly on this. We don't have to go full process tank. Like, we're just doing this authentically. Let's ride it out till the end of the year. I hear you, but like, that can't be the only concern here. obviously physical safety of the player is a top one. And Ron is professional, and to his credit, I don't give him a lot of credit, but to his credit, I think he cares about that. Like, he is someone who played and is just like a genuine human being, does care about the well-being of his players. And so I do think that is something he will consider. But at some point, you just have to lose. Like, at some point, you have to just admit, like, we've lost. Like, Sam, it may not be the franchise quarterback. And, you know, that's not what we came here to do, was to leave after 4 years and leave something else behind. Like, my job at this point is to get, and I might even, if I'm Josh Harris, be like, hey, man, I'm not going to fire you. Your job is to get this thing safely to the end. And please, if that means you need to bench Sam, like, you need to bench Sam. And so I don't know. It's also hard because there's not like a GM or a president of football operations that can come over and make that call either. Like, the setup here is coach-centric. Ron's a coach.
Yeah, I totally see where you're coming from, and from like a Sam Howell's kind of safety mentality, I agree. It's just to play out the rest of the season, like, you're not. They spent the whole year up until the last 2 weeks saying we let Sam Howell play through these things, and they let him play through everything earlier in the year. Until last week, they were letting him play through all of his mistakes and all of his issues, and I mean, you kind of need to do that to see what you have in him and see if he can bounce back from these tests. And that's a big part of the thing that they've sold about Howell, is his ability to move on from mistakes and bounce back and not get caught up in how past performances or even just the past play. And so if that is truly one of his traits, show that it's one of his traits and play him next week. And, you know, if he looks like he's going to hurt himself from being so bad, then just bench him again, and then you admit that you're wrong on Howell being the franchise quarterback. But I don't know what you gain from playing Brissett, other than, like, obviously, as we talked about, the safety aspect with Howell. But if you want to talk about the safety aspect with Howell, he's been getting himself hit every week for the past 16 weeks. So it's, you know, how much more damage is he going to do to himself from playing next week? Now, obviously, the 49ers have one hell of a defensive line. So that is something, but it's not like they haven't played good pass rushes. So, you know, I would still be playing personally. And if it's looking absolutely horrific and it feels might hurt himself, then bench him. But I guess here would be,
I hear you. Here would be my thing. You got two more. You bench him a third time, he's done. Like, you do it again against San Francisco, you can't start him against Dallas. So I would bench him against San Francisco. Tell him, hey, dude, reset. We're going to take the week. Like, Merry Christmas. Jacoby goes out there. And also, by the way, you know, it kind of works out. This is three-dimensional chess for me. Ron's definitely not playing this game. He's trying to win football games. But I'm not scared that Jacoby Brissett's going to accidentally beat the San Francisco 49ers, the best team in the NFL. So you don't have to take that draft pick risk if you're like Josh Harris and you don't come down and be like, no. Not that that's how Harris is as an owner anyway. That was the last guy. But you give him the week off, and then I'd start him against Dallas and be like, hey, all right, you got one more shot. And then, by the way, if you have to bench him against Dallas and they eat him up again, then he's not the guy moving forward. And, you know, Ron's getting fired after the game anyway. You know, Ron leaves empty-handed, and it is what it is. If he bounces back against Dallas, now, you know, talk about for the rest of the offseason. And it's kind of, I mean, a very recent example is they did this to Zach Wilson in New York, and he bounced back in a really great game before he was terrible again against Miami and got hurt. But I also think back to in a better long-term example, like Kirk Cousins got benched multiple times in 2014, 2013 as well. 2014, though, was a year where all three guys played because they all got benched due to performance, with the exception of Colt, something he carried with him, you know, as kind of a chip on his shoulder and something to be pissed off about basically the rest of his time, when he just couldn't seem to get a shot again. But Kirk was benched, and eventually it was like, hey, you do X, Y, and Z. You're going to be the starter here. And in 2015, after they finally convinced Dan to bench Robert, that's exactly what Kirk did. And so benching him for San Francisco doesn't have to mean the end, But I do think like he is so shaken right now, and I'm now monitoring the reporters in the post-game presser. Per John Keim, Rivera said they'll make a quarterback decision early in the week. He said he thinks Howell's confidence might have been shaken by some early lapses, whether his or others. I think of that first interception he throws. Like, he hits Logan Thomas in the face mask. What more do you want him to do? And I think sometimes, if you have moments like that early, it's hard to pull out of. And the more separation in time he gets away, and maybe another week of watching Jacoby hopefully execute at a higher level, you come back against Dallas, you give it one final shot. Everyone knows the score. It is what it is. That would be my thing. I'll let you have the last word, and then a couple of other quick things before we get out of here.
Yeah, I totally see where you're coming from. I think there's merit to it. I think you get so few opportunities to have a quarterback put film on tape, I guess, and play against the top defense, and you have a lot more to gain from him if he comes out and plays really well against San Francisco. And obviously we're not necessarily anticipating it the way he has played, but if he bounces back and he plays well, then you're saying, okay, there is that ability to bounce back, and he's now playing really well against one of the best defenses, the best teams in the league, and so I would see it as an opportunity to prove that is what he can be. He can bounce back and let him start that game. And if he looks like he's going to hurt himself from being bad, then yeah, take him out. And you're right. If you pull him a third time in a row, then he's done for the year, I think. But yeah, I kind of feel like you're going either way there. If you bench him this week, you're probably saying that he's not necessarily done for the year. I understand he can come back against Dallas, but you're basically saying he's not the guy. So I would give him that chance to prove it one more time.
I know I said I'd let you have the last word, but you said something that made me think of another point you made that I think is worth like just hitting on real quick. I think the difference between letting him play through stuff earlier in the year and now is he actually played through it. Like, he would continue to do the right things. And unfortunately, I think he never really corrected anything. I think that's why they pulled him the last couple of weeks. All right, that is the quarterback talk from Take Command, which is available in full now if you'd like the rest of Mark and I's conversation at 1067 The Fan and the Team 980 on YouTube, and, of course, in your podcast feeds in Take Command. Logan and I are going to record early tomorrow morning our tape review, so as soon as we get that flipped around, it will be in your podcast feeds, and you'll get Logan's take on the game. We'll play some of that here on the radio for you throughout the week as well. When we get back, no Michael Phillips today, as is typical on a Monday, even though today's a Tuesday. So how do we combine our Monday, Tuesday shows? How about a little baby vibe check? Take some calls, 301-230-0980. What would you do at quarterback moving forward for Washington? We'll discuss with you next. Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980. Of course, if you miss any part of the show, or if, the first part of the show has goofy audio because of some kind of witchery that took over our engineering, then you should check out the on-demand versions of things. We will post up, by the way, 1st and 10 with all the proper audio and everything adjusted correctly after we had a snafu earlier on the video side of things. That will be up in just a little bit at the Team 980 and at Craig Hoffman. So make sure you are subscribed to have that pop right up to the top of your YouTube recommended videos. Right now, though, normally we would do Not My Beat. We're going to flip some things around as we obviously have just the 4 shows this week. Hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and got to enjoy some time off or time doing something you love yesterday, regardless of whether you were celebrating the holiday or not. But we are going to take some calls from you at 301-230-0980. That is, of course, the Ace Law listener line. If you're in a wreck, Ace Law helps you get a check. Call 8888 Ace Law. And the simple question is, what would you do at quarterback this week for the Commanders? Would you start Sam Howell? Would you start Jacoby Brissett? I guess if you want to start Jake Fromm or there's a free agent out there for you, we're not going to say no until you get on the air. But really, it's between Howell and Brissett. So what do you do? Let's get things started with Devon. Devon, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
What's up, Craig? Happy holidays, man.
Happy holidays to you too, man.
I don't see them. Yeah, I typically, like I told you before, man, I'm always listening to you, one of my favorite shows on the Sports Talk. And you're very, very smart, and you know what you're talking about. And 98.9%, I agree with everything.
But
today's topic, I do not see the merit in holding him back. For the simple reason is, it was for him this whole season. And if he can't get through this, he just can't get through this, and they let us know. But like the guy said earlier that you taped, but I forgot his name.
Yeah, with Mark. Yeah.
You got to allow him to put as much tape as he can out there, and as long as he's healthy enough. Because a couple weeks ago we were saying, oh, he took like 40-something sacks, and he still was going out there. So it's like, if he just shook and seeing ghosts, you got to get through that, because we need to see, are you the guy? So holding him back just this week because San Fran's defense is the best, number 1 or number 2 after Baltimore, the best defense, you got to go through that. You in the NFL, you're not a baby. So it's like, if you hold him out this week and then he played good last year against Cowboys, he might just got the knack for the Cowboys, and he go out there and throw for 404 touchdowns. You can't just hang your hat on that and then evaluate him. He gets the rest of the season. And let's be honest, before I take it off the air, the last 2 weeks when Brissett came back in, we almost came back and won them games. So if you start Brissett, it's any given Sunday. So Brissett clearly is operating the offense better. We mess around and we'll beat San Fran. So no, if you put him out there, it's only 2 more games left, man. We've been watching this movie this long. Why not 2 more episodes and it's over?
Yeah, no, Devon, I appreciate the call, and I don't think that it's you're way off point. I do think that I'm not scared. I'll put it this way. I'm not scared they're going to beat San Francisco although there was a bunch of injuries for the Niners last night on top of what a crazy game that was, which we'll talk about when we go around the NFL at 5:30. But I'm not scared they're going to beat the Niners just because Brissett's in there. Am I more scared they'll beat the Niners than if Howell's in there? Absolutely. So from the draft position standpoint, yes. Offering Sam Howell as a sacrificial lamb is probably the best thing if you want to keep this number 3 and potentially even move up to the number 2 overall pick. However, to the larger point here, I think people underestimate the control you have over some of the stuff that Devon was talking about. We got to find out if he's the guy. Guys aren't born. There are rare guys where that is the case, right? Like Peyton Manning could have gone to any team in the league with pretty much any coach, and he was so smart and so talented, so physically gifted that he was 6 foot. I mean, what was the old commercial there? 6'6", laser rocket arm. Like Peyton Manning genetically, everything else, was born to play NFL quarterback at a Hall of Fame level. Those guys are not even once in a generation. Most, even great players, benefit tremendously from their circumstances. And so the choices you make with and for them matter on their ability to ultimately succeed. In other words, I don't think playing Sam Howell next week and benching Sam Howell for a week lead to the same result in the end. There's not an inevitability there. Like, if you just keep throwing a guy out there, he becomes David Carr. The inevitability is he gets so beat up, he never gets to reset, he never gains the confidence, he never learns, he just keeps taking a beating, and that's who he becomes. He becomes the beat-up quarterback who can't see a defense, can't read it, is hot feet in the pocket, and is just scared to get hit all the time and doesn't actually learn how to execute. The alternative is he's Kirk Cousins. He gets benched a couple of times as a young player, learns, has time to process, maybe goes out, makes some more mistakes, gets benched again, but eventually it pans out for him. I don't think that if Kirk had just kept playing as a young player that he necessarily would have figured it out. In the same way that I think if David Carr, a former number 1 overall pick, had a better offensive line, better running backs, better everything when he got drafted there to Houston, and maybe even got to sit for a year, that he would have still been a bust. It's possible, but I don't think it's written from the time that you're born or the time that you enter the league. And so to say, oh, we got to find out. No. We, fans and media, need to find out. They, the people actually making the decision, need to do the thing that is the best to create the outcome that's desired. If you want Sam to succeed, you have to figure out what the best thing is for Sam. And this is why I've hated the approach all year long, because I don't think this let's throw him to the wolves and see what happens nonsense that Ron and Eric seem to be on is the best way to actually find out if Sam can play. I think it's by insulating and incubating your quarterback behind a good offensive line, like the Eagles have done with Jalen Hurts, by making sure they have premier skill positions like a young Patrick Mahomes had with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce in Kansas City. It's by having a good running game and leaning into it like Dak Prescott had in Dallas. You name a young quarterback, and there's no better example than the greatest of all time. Tom Brady wasn't the reason the Patriots won maybe even their first 3 Super Bowls, but certainly their first one when he took over for Drew Bledsoe. He just had to manage the game. Don't turn the football over. Make the 7 or 8 throws in a game that you need to. Mostly hand the ball off and rely on the fact that your defense is great. Sam didn't have that luxury. Sam is highly leveraged. And at the very least, taking 1 week off to be able to see Jacoby operate this offense, to understand the timing of it, to see what it looks like when you trust the offensive line and you sit in the pocket and you deliver the ball on time, on target, to realize what on time actually means from a timing mechanism from the sideline. That would be beneficial to me. Not to mention, I do think there is a physical safety element. People say, oh, he was sacked 11 times and he still is just fine, and he was just fine earlier in the year. Clearly not. I think there's been that cumulative effect of taking that many hits, whether it's physical or mental, because he just knows if he's going to get hit. And the reality is, if he played differently, he wouldn't. And I think Jacoby can show him that. So I would let Jacoby show him that. 301-230-0980 is the A-Slaw listener line. We take more of your calls next on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Taking your calls on the Ace Law listener line. If you're in a wreck, Ace Law helps you get a check. Call 8888 Ace Law. Around the NFL with Anthony coming up at 5:30. Our pick 6 at 6. We'll see how that goes. And then Dave Johnson will join us because it is the Wizards game day coming up at 6:15. Keep going with the calls, though. Let's go to Rev T. Rev, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
Man, what's going on? Merry Christmas. Hold on. Y'all changed up. What happened to Lionel and Doc talking, man? This Craig now?
I've had this show for 2 years.
Oh, no, but I just thought I heard Doc and Lionel talking. I thought they were sitting in for you.
You might
you, Craig Hoffman?
Nope. They're on the Fan. They're in for Grant and Danny.
Oh, man, don't worry about it. But Merry Christmas to you, brother.
Merry Christmas.
But listen here, though, man. What I wanted to tell you was this about the quarterback. They should bench Sam Howell. And I want people to understand, Brother Craig, it's not because Sam Howell is bad, but if you don't recognize a concussed man when you see one, something is wrong. That man been concussed for about 3-4 weeks now. You ever heard, hey, Craig, you ever heard a song that say, slow motion, baby, slow motion, baby? That's what's happening with Hal right now. And at this point, I've seen enough for
you can't mess up the song lyric. You can't get the host wrong. And you can't pretend you're smarter than the doctors. 3 strikes. I know Rev T is a caller legend. I know it's the holiday season. But Anthony, that was not Rev T's best there. And we just can't. We're about doing the best on this show. That was 3 strikes, and he's out, man. I hated to do it, but it's slow motion for me.
Yeah, I don't know how he got you, Doc, and Linnell.
I mean, I know on the YouTube stream, earlier.
Okay.
So the thing is, here's the thing, though. On the YouTube stream, Doc and Linnell, because they were over on the Fan, we had the Fan's audio bleed through over here. I know why it happened. Basically, they switched some things around when we had the holiday show for the Junkies on Friday, and then some stuff didn't get switched back. It happens. It's a holiday weekend. Whatever. I'm not bent out of shape. But if you watched, you could see me. So it wasn't happening, I don't think, on our... Actually, I checked. It wasn't happening on our stream. I don't think it was happening on the radio. So he messed up his own radio. And then the concussion thing, that makes me uncomfortable. I don't like diagnosing medical opinions from random people who are watching on television. But then you messed up the juvenile lyric. And that's just... We can't have that. It is juvenile, right? I'm not making a fool of myself there.
Slow motion for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can't be doing that. Anyway, it's the Ace Law listener line where you never know what's going to happen. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Nate. Nate, thanks for calling. Good luck following that.
All right. Well, I'm not going to mess with those song lyrics. I just want to say, I'm going to try not to be as long-winded, but I just want to preface this real quick. I'm actually not a Commanders fan, but I am a born and raised DMV native. My family's from D.C. I live here. I listen to this channel all the time. I've been listening to it since Steve Zabin and it was on. It's Tony Kornheiser, okay? So I watch a lot of the games because the Packers usually play at 4 or prime time, so I get to see the Commanders on
They play at 1
o'clock
o'clock all the time unless they're on the West Coast. We got it.
Yeah. So this is what I'm going to say. I think it has been proven now. First of all, I believe Brissett should have been starting since last week when he almost brought y'all back. That should have been indicated that he needed to start this week. And I think it's also safe to say that I feel like it's clear now that Brissett should have been starting from week 1. And it seems like Ron and Bieniemy went into this season trying to bank on developing Sam Howell, and if they could turn him into a top 10 a quarterback lookalike, that would be a better opportunity for them to save their jobs than if they were winning games. So
for sure, but here would be my question, right? Is let's say Jacoby does start from week 1. What do you think the record is?
I think I'm not going to give a prediction on that, but I do think they've been in enough close games that if they did start from week 1, they'd be in the playoff race.
I don't disagree with you.
Be.
To be clear, I don't disagree with you. But what they wouldn't have is any kind of long-term plan. It would be another 9-8 season, probably somewhere in that range, where you don't have a long-term plan and you literally just repeat the same season that you've had for 4 years.
That's true. But here, I know you got to get some more calls, and I'll let you. But
yeah,
let me just say my points, and then I'll listen to you.
I appreciate it.
But here's my thing. That may be true, but you still necessarily don't know if he's the guy for the future, because now you have a top 5 pick potentially, or whatever it's going to be, and most likely they're going to try to draft another quarterback. They're going to fire the head coach, hire a new GM, and we all know. Unless Sam Howell was Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson or somebody of that ilk, where you saw clearly he was a guy that you could build something around, then the next guy would say, okay, I want him. But you're going to have a new GM and a new head coach, and we know historically those guys want their own guy, okay? So, and to me it seems like Ron, he did the same thing he did with Wentz, and Fitzmagic and the other guy from KC. No, not even Heineke. The guy who broke his leg.
Oh, Alex Smith.
Alex Smith. They did the same thing where they had someone else before and they just messed up the whole thing. And I feel like at this point, even though this might make some people upset, it seems like they made their mind up whether he was good enough in practice in the preseason.
Nate, here's the thing. I'm gonna let you go, but I appreciate the call. Thanks for listening. No, I gotta let you go, because it's not that you're saying anything wrong. It's that you think those things are bad things, and the rest of us think that those are good things. Finding out if Sam was it was a hidden gem was worth it. You find out the answer is probably not, unless another coach is like, actually, I saw enough early in the season to see it. This guy's gonna be great. I don't know what the hell Bieniemy was doing. Like, maybe that is what some coach or the next GM thinks. The point is, finding out was more important than winning 10 games and 9 games and getting smoked in the first round of the playoffs. Wasting another season treading water is worse, and winding up with a middle draft pick is worse than finding out you're actually not even close and getting a top 5 pick. Not just in the first round, but every round. Every round you get a top 5 pick. You get one of the best players at every point in the draft. That's awesome. If your whole thing is like, well, they were going to lose their jobs and rebuild anyway, wouldn't you rather rebuild with more resources? It's not that anything that Nate said was wrong. It's that his conclusion was wrong. Correct data, bad conclusion. The right conclusion is awesome, excellent. We found out. Not, hey, we got this 5th rounder we took a couple years ago. Do we think he could be a part of the solution? He's got no experience, and we won 9 games with a guy who is clearly not in our future plans because he's on a 1-year contract. And also, their defense has been the worst in the NFL. So, maybe the 9 games with Brissett is like incredibly optimistic. Probably looking closer to 7. So all you do is miss the playoffs with a better record, and thus a worse draft pick. So it's not that you're wrong that they would have been a better football team with Jacoby Brissett. It's that it was worth finding out if Sam Howell was the guy or not. Last but not least, let's go to Derek in Arizona. Derek, thanks for holding. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, both to you and Craig and Anthony.
Thank you. You too.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to piggyback on your response there to Nate. I'm 100% behind you. Like, I would rather take this season as opposed to an 8-9, 9-8, or even because we all know Ron has it in him, an 8-1 season or something like that, with no answers to look forward to. On top of that, I mean, who's to say if we're around 500 around the trade deadline, are we trading Chase Young and Montez Sweat and getting those picks, which makes our team more attractive to potential GMs and head coaches? So, I mean, I'm with you. I'd rather take this bottoming out and just know what we have, as opposed to maybe we win a couple games, but we still don't know that much, and we're middle of the pack still.
Yeah, totally.
In terms of picking and everything. But in terms of do we start Howell question, I kind of see all angles. I mean, I can see just playing through it. I can see just benching him and going with Jacoby. But I think I'm kind of with you, whereas I'd rather just bench him this week. And what the previous caller before Nate, I think, was talking about him being concussed. I don't know if I don't believe that at all medically, but I can see that. I can maybe see what he might have been trying to say.
Yeah, he's definitely like shell shocked.
You look at him and he's shell shocked, exactly, and you can see it.
Right.
You can call it regression. You can call it whatever you want to over the course of the season. You know, over the course of the season, he's taking all these sacks, but he's hitting. You know, they're executing at a higher level on the offense because he's standing longer in the pocket there. When then you get to a point in the season where he's not taking those sacks, and you see it like a dip into the offense, and
100%.
then now it looks like the last 3 or 4 weeks or so, like he doesn't know what he's saying.
No, totally. And Derek, I got to let you go because we're up against the clock, but I appreciate the call. Thanks, Derek, listening in Arizona on the free Odyssey app, and also shout out to Derek's baby in the background, or whichever baby is in the background of Derek. I don't want to make any assumptions, Anthony. Maybe he's at a gas station somewhere and there's a child in a car nearby. Maybe
that is a loud baby, if so.
Yeah, I don't know. That's probably Derek's baby. Anyway, shout out to Derek and his baby. When we get back, we will go around the NFL. We will spend much more time as the week goes talking about the decision. And obviously tomorrow on the show, we expect Rivera to reveal it. Might wind up happening during Russell's show. Just depends on how long practice goes tomorrow. So we will discuss what they should do and what Ron ultimately decides to do tomorrow. But we go around the NFL next on the Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Anthony, I feel like the breaks are shorter today.
Yeah, I didn't realize that break was that short. That was very.
Oh, that
quick.
was okay. That actually was shorter.
Yeah, that one was definitely shorter. I think the ones at the end of the hour a little longer.
A little longer. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just like, we're back.
Yeah.
Ta-da! We're back. We're here till 6:45. A little bit more than an hour from now. Wizards Magic tonight at Capital One Arena. Dave Johnson will join us at 6:15 before he and Glenn take over at 6:45 for the radio party. We got a ton of games this week, actually. We literally have a game every night here on the Team 980. You got Wizards Magic tonight. Wiz play again tomorrow, and then they play the Nets on Friday. And then Thursday, Maryland and Coppin State. Yeah, buddy. We are done at 6:30, the 30-minute pregame show before a 7 o'clock tip for the Terps on Thursday. So means we should get right to it then, shall we? First of all, I did want to say, Anthony, Derek is actually not a audio or Odyssey app listener. He's a YouTube watcher, and he commented on the YouTube stream that was indeed his baby.
Thank you for the confirmation.
Thanks, Rick.
We were definitely curious.
Thanks. We definitely needed that. And now we go around the NFL. All right. God, there's so many games spread out over a couple of days. This is such a weird time of year for it once college football ends and the NFL's like, oh, cool. It's like, sometimes when my wife gets out of bed in the morning, I like starfish and I'm like, oh, look, I have the whole bed now. That's what the NFL does to weekends. It's a weird analogy.
Yeah,
I felt a little uncomfortable making it, but you know what I mean. Saints and Rams Thursday night. We talked about this one briefly. Obviously, Rams get the win, 30-22. Held on after a late surge by the Saints. Rams have been cooking as of late. Stafford over 300. Kyron Williams over 100. Puka Nacua 9 catches, 164 and a touchdown, and a correct pick for your boys. Bengals and Steelers on Saturday. I told you, Anthony.
Go ahead and say, I told you so.
I told you so. I did. I said, this is the very dumb game.
Yep.
The very silly Steelers always win. They look dead. They look toast. They're finally going to be under 500. Tomlin's finally going to have a season where he's under 500. Tomlin's going to get fired. The Bengals look great. Jake Browning looks like a revelation. Or not. Or the Steelers will smoke the Bengals. They'll put up a 30-piece and win 34-11.
Yeah.
What?
Didn't really make sense. T. Higgins did what I thought he was going to do. You know, he showed up. And
5
showed
for 140.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, they need a little bit more. But, yeah, shout out to the Steelers. Mason Rudolph. Oh, my
17
gosh.
for 27, 290, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Both the touchdowns to George Pickens, including an 86-yarder.
Yeah, one of my friends, he's a Steelers fan, and he seems to think players get open more when, Mason Rudolph's at QB, because for Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky, just didn't happen. And I don't know if there's merit to it, but he's a Steelers fan, so who knows? George Pickens definitely had a huge game. Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but it's probably when people say things like that, I'm like, do you watch the All-22?
He probably doesn't.
Probably not. You know what he probably does do? See balls get completed. And you know what that probably means? The quarterback's throwing with more anticipation, a la what is happening here with Jacoby Brissett.
Mm-hmm.
Bills had to hang on to beat the Chargers, the lowly Chargers, the don't have a coach anymore Chargers. Oh, and they have an interim coach. Chargers, 24-22. Another turnover for Josh Allen, but he does also account for 3 touchdowns. And James Cook, another 20 carries, 70 yards in the win. Big night for Gabe Davis, 4 catches, 130, and a touchdown.
What's happening to Stephon Diggs? Did you see the tweet where he's gone like 9 straight games
without
under?
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, teams are definitely loading up on him. Other guys are stepping up. And the thing is, it's not like the Bills have been terrible. They haven't been at their best. I think they are at their best when he's involved.
Yeah.
But it happens. I mean, Stephon Diggs is what? How old is he now?
He's in this is year 9 for him, I think.
Yeah, he's 30. I mean, and I hate to say it as someone who's 33 and going on 34 in a couple of months here. Sorry to everyone who's older that is listening. That's like, what am I, dead? But like in the NFL, when you hit 30, I mean, even all of us who have hit 30, like you're not quite as quick as you used to be. You're not quite as fast as you used to be. Now, you hope that mentally you're able to make up for it. You understand the timing, the rhythm. But like he is at a point at 30, which is crazy, where he's past his physical prime. That's the NFL. It's a cruel world, cruel business. It doesn't mean he can't be a really excellent receiver for another 4 or 5 years, play till he's 34, 35. By all means. But is he going to be Stephon Diggs, the guy, every week? No, and he'll have weeks where he wakes up, to quote the old Baker Mayfield, I don't know, I just woke up feeling dangerous. Like, you'll have weeks like that. I have days where wake up and I feel amazing. And then there's the rest of the days. And, that's life in your 30s. Still worth it. I love my 30s. But I'm also not an NFL football player who's got to perform on demand every Sunday.
Yeah, hopefully he figures it out. The playoffs are definitely rolling around, and they're going to need him.
Let's put it this way. If I am game planning for the Bills every week, I'm not like, we don't got to worry about Diggs. He's still damn good.
Yeah.
So it's just, does he have the production week in, week out? And it hasn't happened in a bunch of weeks. This one I thought I had right. Apparently I didn't. Falcons 29, Colts 10. Heineke, nice little day, 229 and a touchdown. I mean, the biggest thing for him, compared to how he plays when he's good or bad, / how Ritter had played, he was clean. No turnovers. No picks, no fumbles. Just did what he needed to do, kept the train on the tracks, got the ball in the hands of the playmakers. Bijan, 12 carries for 72 yards. I mean, the efficiency there, crazy. 6 yards a carry. Algier, 7 a carry on 9 carries. They rush for 177 total. I mean, this is when the Falcons are at their absolute best. You have 12 carries for Bijan, 9 for Algier, 7 for Patterson. Taylor had 2 for 10 yards. And ultimately, it's 30 carries, 177, 5.9 per. And that's another, 7 catches for Bijan. So you get him 20 touches, basically. That's how you do it.
Craig, this is one of those contingency picks that did not go your way this week. You said Atlanta, if JT does not play, he ended up playing. And you could have been undefeated. Oh, no. The Commanders, you would have got.
I was really good on Sunday during the day. The moment I texted you, I think things turned downhill.
Yeah.
But that's what I get for bragging. But yes, I thought, okay, well, damn, I should have just went with the Falcons and been like, you know what? Now that they got rid of their quarterback problem, they'll probably be fine. Whoops. Anyway, the Falcons won. They're 7-8. They still have a chance to win in the NFC South because that division stinks. Seahawks 20, Titans 17. Truly hanging on for dear life. Seattle able to run out the clock in this one. Their defense on the field, keeping someone in bounds to let the clock run out at the end of this one for Tennessee. Tannehill played in this game with Levis banged up, but got outdueled by Geno Smith, 227, 2 touchdowns. Nice little bounce back day for Derrick Henry, 19 carries, 88 yards, touchdown, and he threw for another one because that's a thing he does a couple times this season. But Seattle able to bounce back after a rough start to this game, 14 points in the fourth quarter, and a victory.
Yeah, it was good to see Tannehill back out there, but it didn't result in a W for the boy.
Tannehill's going to be the next Flacco. He's just going to be a backup for the next 9 years, even though he's already in his mid-30s. And in what are we in, 2024 almost? In 2029, Ryan Tannehill is going to win a football game late in the season, and we're going to be like, I thought he was toast 5 years ago. Remember when we got replaced by Will Levis?
But I feel like Flacco sort of kind of has more of the upside just because he has a stronger arm than Tannehill.
Tannehill's arm's not as, he's got that weird throwing motion.
Yeah.
But, the dude was a top 10 pick after barely playing quarterback because he had so many physical traits.
Yeah, I think you put him around a solid team, he could definitely come in and build some teams out. I like the comparison.
Tannehill, yeah, I think Flacco's the better player, but Tannehill's going to be around for a while because he's just smart and he knows how to play.
Mm-hmm.
But not win many games, which is why they're 5-10 and, they lost on Sunday. Lions 30, Vikings 24. Amazing story for the Lions, who survive a 411-yard, 2-touchdown day from Nick Mullins, in part because Mullins also throws 4. Yes, count them. 1, 2, 3, 4 interceptions. I mean, just a wild stat line. You hear a stat line like that, Anthony, and you figure, oh, he must have thrown the ball 80 times. No, he had 36 attempts. 22 of 36. And somehow in that 22 of 36, he threw for 411 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions.
That is insane.
It's crazy.
36 attempts is crazy.
I mean, that's not like a crazy number. It's a crazy number to have 4 picks and 411 yards.
Yeah, with 2 tugs.
Yeah. JJ, 6 for 141. Osborne had a beautiful touchdown catch as part of his 5 for 95. Unfortunately, the big loss for the Vikings here, on top of dropping back below 500, TJ Hawkinson, who had 4 catches, 58 yards on the day, torn ACL, torn MCL, out for the season, and likely, obviously, most of next year as well, considering how late we are in the season. Be a heck of a lift for him to get back for the start of next season. Meanwhile, on Detroit's side, happy party celebration. Goff, 30 for 40, 257, a touchdown to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who had 12 for 106. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, both over 50 yards apiece, 55 and 80, Montgomery and Gibbs. And for the Detroit Lions, it is the first division title since 1993. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, yes, boys and girls, that is the first Detroit Lions division title of Anthony Haney's life.
It is indeed. It's been 30 years?
30. They were a wild card team a couple of times in the 90s with Barry Sanders.
Yep.
This is their first division title since, and with Stafford. I mean, they had Stafford and Calvin Johnson. They had some decent teams in there. They were mostly terrible. They had a couple decent teams. Never once won the division.
Is this their first in their franchise?
Since 1993.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is their first NFC North title. First one since realignment.
Hey, look, that's why records are meant to be broken. Shout out to Dan Campbell leading those guys, putting this unit together and getting the job done.
The post game was great too. He goes, where's the old guard? He pulled up the guys who had been there the longest, who had suffered the most, and was like, this one, we're gonna do this again. Every one of these is special, but this first one, this one's for you guys. And I hope he's right. I hope he's right, because they're building it the right way in Detroit. That's certainly an organization. I know we've all talked about Ben Johnson, but between Johnson and some of the people in their front office there, that's one of the organizations I think that the Commanders should be looking to poach from and model how they built it after. They have a very clear vision of what it means to be a Detroit Lion, and it's front office down to coaching staff, down to players, and they've done a really excellent. They've done it the right way, and it shows you that the right process will lead you to good results if you actually follow it for the right amount of time. On the opposite end of that scale is the Jets and the Commanders. What a poop show this was. We've talked about it all show long. 30-28, the Jets win. Commanders come back behind Jacoby Brissett. You all know the drill. And Anthony and I were both dumb enough to pick Washington.
I mean, the thing is, Craig, this was a game that appeared to have been lost early, that we had won, that we gave away. That's how I see it.
Yeah, it really is embarrassing. You played the most embarrassing half of football that a team has played in forever, where your defense gives up explosive plays, your offense is something beyond inept, self-destructive. Your special teams just has a total goober fest. I mean, I love Jamison Crowder. He's my guy. I enjoy talking, like, professionally speaking, he's my guy. Like, I've known JC since he was drafted. It was hilarious earlier this year. I told the story of one of the post-game locker rooms when he first got here, where, like, we kind of did that, like, hey, I know you. Yeah. Hey, a familiar face, because I'm not out there every day anymore. I don't know most of the guys on the team in the way that I used to when I was a familiar face when I was on the beat. And Jamison, like, he didn't know anybody. He just gotten back. So, like, of course he knew Kime, because everybody that's been here for a quarter century knows Kime. But outside of John and, like, Michael Phillips, he was like, hey, I know you. And so we caught up, and it was great. And, like, he's such a great, like, a genuinely great human being. And he would be like, I don't know what happened there. He tried to, like, switch hands in the ball, and it just,
Yeah.
Wacky.
Good return, too.
Yeah, I know. That's the worst part. It's not like that happened on a 2-yarder and it's just, like, bad to worse. It was like, hey, you had the return that probably could have helped turn the game around.
Yep.
And instead it just continued down the spiral. Meanwhile, Packers 33, Panthers 30, way closer than the experts thought. Bryce Young starting to turn things around a little bit. 312 yards, 2 touchdowns for the number 1 overall pick in the loss. Jordan Love, 2 more touchdowns to add to his excellent total this season. 17 of 28, 219. Again, not major yardage, but efficient. Doesn't turn the football over. Finds ways to make plays in the end zone. And, oh, by the way, Aaron Jones does his part. 21 carries, 127 for him.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad to see Bryce Young turning things around. But if I'm a Commanders fan and I'm thinking about next year and us having to undergo what the Panthers have gone through,
I don't think that we're going to have to.
I hope we don't, Craig. I hope
Dog, their roster made ours look insanely good.
I mean,
like, their number 1 receiver is Adam Thielen. And I know Terry's not Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
But Terry's really good.
Yeah.
Adam Thielen was really good when he was a number 2 paired with Justin Jefferson or Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
Their number 1 receiver is Adam Thielen. They have a porous they genuinely have a terrible offensive line. Yeah. They have the offensive line many Commanders fans think they have.
Okay, well, hey, look.
They have some decent defensive players.
I feel better then.
Burns is good, although he's probably leaving in free agency.
Yeah, they got some ballers over there.
They do.
For sure.
They do. And if they can get the right coach, eventually, maybe they can turn some things around. Because Tepper's going to pay for stuff, but how about a plan and stick to it? Browns, Texans. Browns, 36-22 victory. Flacco, 368, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Amari Cooper, one of the best games you'll ever see from a receiver. 11 catches, 265, 2 touchdowns. This is why, we are seeing why the Browns front office might have 2 GMs, two people, because one of them could be the first female GM in the history of the league. Two different people in that Browns front office that are very likely to get GM jobs this offseason. If not 3, 3 separate people that will interview for GM jobs around the league. What they have built there, the resiliency they have. Stefanski should be the coach of the year. The fact that they're 10-6 or whatever they are. What are they? 10-5?
Yeah,
10-5.
Yep.
With what they've dealt with, not just at quarterback, but all over the roster.
Running back.
Going into Thursday Night Football against the Jets, dude, they're without legitimately, I think, 20 day 1 starters.
Oh, some linemen. Yep.
Linemen, quarterback, obviously, and I'm not sad about the quarterback situation. Get what you deserve with Deshaun Watson.
Nick Chubb
Hate
is out.
that.
Come on.
But Chubb's out. They freaking Dustin Hopkins, old pal, is their kicker. He got hurt in this game. Their kicker got hurt. That's how banged up they are. Insane what the Browns are doing. Stefanski's doing a hell of a job, and absolutely deserves to be coach of the year. Jags, Bucks, another bad day for Trevor Lawrence. Insult and injury. Sprained AC joint. He is doubtful for their upcoming game. Meanwhile, Buccaneers drop another 30-piece. Baker, 2 touchdowns. Rachaad White, a touchdown as well. And it just shows you, too, by the way, it is worth sticking to running the football. And I know the Buccaneers were up in this game, so the game flow helps you out as well. But, the Bucs just were we don't care. We are Rachaad White, 20 carries, 39 yards. Chase Edmonds, 10 for 25. They couldn't run it, but they got up in this game early, and they were we're just going to run out the clock and make C.J. Beathard beat us. And spoiler alert, C.J. Beathard didn't beat him.
The Bucs,
good game management.
We both. It was almost a unanimous. We already expected the Bucs to go out here, whether Trevor played or not. And I'm rooting for the Bucs, Craig. I'm rooting for these guys. I hope they keep getting the job done. I'm looking forward to how they finish the season.
Bears suddenly 6-9 on the year, 27-16. As Justin Fields has another confounding outing. Some stuff where you watch him, and he's just electric. I mean, he's got a 39-yard scramble in this one as part of a 9 for 97. Yeah, he had 97 yards rushing, 15-27, touchdown pick. Some of the throws, there was a point in the game where he makes this ridiculous throw to get them into the deep red zone, and then he makes a ridiculous in a bad way throw on the next throw. You're just okay, cool. You just gave the ball to the other team. Great job, Justin.
But the Bears have been consistently scoring. They put up 27 here. I think they have an interesting decision to make this offseason. I think ultimately you can't, if you have the number 1 pick via Carolina, you can't pass up on a generational prospect if that's what Caleb Williams is in your mind. But I think at the very least for Chicago, they have successfully rehabbed Justin Fields' trade value.
Yep.
Like, I think there's a team that'll give up a second or a third for him. Depending on if you have to pay him with immediately and like how that pans out, but I could see at least a third for him.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely when he's played this season, they've shown that they can score. Early in the season, it was the defense that was holding them back, and now he got back healthy and they're starting to figure things out. So the Bears are definitely gonna have a weird situation come.
Do you keep Flus?
The defense looks good, man.
I would probably keep him.
I think I keep, especially if I go ahead and
I
win the next 2 weeks.
I might keep Getsy at this point. They're OC.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It just depends on how you think he fits with Caleb.
With Fields, they've shown their ability to score. The defense has turned around since Montez gotten there, so I like what Flus is cooking right now. They're ending the season on a strong note.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. Dolphins 22, Cowboys 20. This was kind of the game we thought it would be. Both teams come out, play pretty well. Dolphins ultimately pull it out, which is what I thought would happen. Yep. You were on the other side of it. But the Dolphins, they finally beat a good team, as long as you think the Cowboys are a good team. And if not, then quit moving the bar on the Dolphins.
I believe in the Dolphins now.
They have a real chance this weekend because they face the Ravens. But
they finally beaten a good team. I don't think they beat the Ravens. I think the Ravens are the best team in football. But we'll get to those teams later.
Yes. Let's actually move quickly so we can get to those teams. Patriots 26, Broncos 23. I got nothing to say on that other than thanks, Patriots, for winning and moving the Commanders up in the draft order. Yes. Raiders, Chiefs. Raiders 20-14 victors. I mean, this was another wacky game, but I actually think something that's interesting from this game, Anthony, if they had just caught the footballs that Patrick Mahomes threw to them the entire year, the Chiefs would have been fine. I think Mahomes is starting to press a little bit in the way that Sam is pressed.
Yep.
Where there are times where you watch Travis Kelce on your screen, seemingly wide open, and you're just like, dude, just throw it to Travis. Don't go. Does Alex Smith need to come pay you a visit? You can't go broke making a profit. And I think Mahomes, because he feels like he's got to make stuff happen. One, you saw playoff Pat where he ran a lot more, and I would not be psyched about that if I was Andy Reid. I'd be like, you save playoff Pat for the playoffs there, buddy. It'll be all right. And two, I think he's trying to push the ball down the field a little bit too much, and he needs to just take what's there. I think for the first time, really in his career, Mahomes' play is hurting them a little bit. Now, he's also doing other stuff in different points of the game that is elevating them. He makes insane plays that saves you every single game. But I think down in, down out, he's got to recalibrate a little bit, start taking some of the shorter stuff, and just live with the easy stuff and know the deeper stuff will come eventually. Yeah, got to stay patient.
Yeah, I think they also just gave away the game as well. The fumble, the pick six.
Totally.
Those hurt, but also to your point, he is pressing. He does need to, just take what is there.
They're still capable if they can find it offensively. Their defense is playing outrageous. I mean, they won. The Raiders did 20-14, scoring 0 offensive points.
Exactly.
Like no touchdowns, no offensive touchdowns, 2 field goals, and 2 defensive touchdowns. Giants, Eagles 33-25 winners. This was an interesting game, but we're out of time, and I'd rather talk about Ravens 49ers.
Yep.
This was a weird game, Anthony, because I thought for the entire first half, the 49ers were playing better down in, down out, but they kept making critical mistakes, and the Ravens kept making plays. And it shows you that while, yes, the process of down in and down out football is really important, and that's what the Ravens did in the second half, and just were the better team straight up, the ability to make a play is probably the most important thing in the NFL. And, the Niners were driving it down their throats in that first drive, and then Kyle Hamilton makes a play. 49ers get back. They start getting some yards, getting some chunks. McCaffrey's going. Samuel's going. Kittle's wide open every play. Ayuk is making plays. Purdy's dealing. Get another play. And eventually, when you make the plays, the other team will start to panic a little bit, and the 49ers lost it. And then ultimately, like, the Ravens just pounce and make a couple of back-to-back plays, and they are up 29-12 in the blink of an eye at the start of that third quarter, and they never look back. But I think if I'm Kyle this week, and I'm like, hey, if we play those guys again, I feel good about it.
Yep.
And if I'm Harbaugh this week, I go, hey, way to make plays, and that's how we're going to win games. We got to keep making plays.
Yeah, I felt as though the Ravens were going to win this game. I think, again, Super Bowl preview, I think the 49ers capitalized on their miscues in their rematch, hopefully in the Super Bowl.
All right, so when we get back, Anthony will tally up the records. We'll give them to you real quick, and then it is time for our Pick Six before Dave Johnson joins us at 6:15 on The Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980 as well. Dave Johnson joins us from Capital One Arena in just a few minutes to preview the Magic and Wizards tonight, talk about the Wizards weekend as well. Real quick before we get to our pick six, Anthony, how did we do on the on the picking of the games?
I went 10-6. You went 11-5. Yeah.
I smoked the early window on Sunday.
You definitely did, because you texted me and you were doing extremely well, and then the Chiefs let you down, and some other
Niners
team.
let me down.
Yeah, yep.
The Patriots let me down because they won.
Yep.
So really just a poor finish. All right, is what it is. So I do pull ahead by one more. We got a couple more weeks. Close it out strong. Another year, another victory for the host.
I know.
Or I've spoken too soon. Perhaps I don't finish strong.
Uh-oh. That means I'll have to take every...
I was going to say, or are you going to get all reckless again?
Nah, that'll make things worse.
Yeah, that is correct. All right, let's get to our pick six.
The 6 biggest Commander storylines.
It is caught!
Delivered at 6 o'clock sharp. It's the Pick 6 at 6.
I'm going to be their biggest and harshest critic, but I'm also their #1 fan.
Anthony, you know what you did?
What did I do?
You put the wrong pick six in the rundown. It's okay. I subbed it out.
Whoo.
Caught you. Good looking out.
Hey, look, teamwork makes the dream work.
It does. It does. After I out you on the radio, because I think it was actually a pretty funny mistake. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Right. All right, our pick six. We pick 6 players on Fridays that we think will have a huge impact on the game on Sunday, either good or bad. And, well, interesting mixed results here. Let's start off with...
Number one.
Whoa. I got it. Sam Howell. Yeah, he had a big impact on the game on Sunday. Sure did. We typically outlaw Sam from being picked here. We outlaw the quarterback because it's obvious. But we figured with the circumstances being what they were, that it was worth highlighting. Hey, is he going to be able to bounce back? What does it mean for the future? And the answer was no, and I don't know. Realistically, he was the biggest reason they lost because he cannot execute the offense right now. He can't get the ball out on time. He can't protect the football. And some of that is not the turnovers necessarily aren't his fault. I would actually say both the interceptions are not on Sam. He hits Logan in the face mask with one, and then Curtis Samuel slips on the other. I'd also say on the second interception, though, I don't know that that's the right read. I think Terry's open on a dig a little bit further down the field, and I might have been looking there, but I also understand he's got a man coverage choice route, Curtis Samuel on a linebacker. That's why you draw that play up. And Curtis slips coming out of his break. Sam actually does throw with anticipation, and what he anticipates happening doesn't. But it's so much more than that. It's the inability to sustain drives because you just can't get simple, basic completions. And it's sad. It's different than what we saw earlier this year when he would just dart those balls in there with confidence. And I don't know where that leaves them moving forward, other than with more questions than answers. And that's the unfortunate reality of where the Washington Commanders are right now. But it'll be someone else's problem soon in terms of Rivera and company.
Number 2.
Anthony, you had Emmanuel Forbes, who had an interesting game.
He did have an interesting game. You want to know why? Because we didn't see Emmanuel Forbes on the field until the midway point of the third quarter, and only because someone got injured. Yeah. What is Ron Rivera doing? We're down. We were down 27-7, and we could not get our first-round draft pick on the field until the midway point of the third quarter. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Forbes, when he was in there, I guess he played all right.
He played good. Played good ball. He's got a green grade on PFF. Played 29 snaps, 70.2 grade, 65 run support, 75 tackling, 69 in coverage. Like, that's good ball.
That's what I'm saying. He needs the experience. He needs the reps. Put him out there. And it's not like Benjamin St. Juste is doing so much better.
That's my thing, right? Is like, if BSJ was killing it, fine. BSJ was getting picked on. Put the kid out there. Like, again, I can't speak out of both sides of my mouth. Are there times where putting a kid out there a la what's happening with Sam right now, isn't actually what's best for him? Yes. Forbes is not that guy right now. Maybe earlier in the year he was, but every time he's played since the New England game and all the ejection and the injury, like outside of that stuff, he's been fine.
He's solid.
So what are you doing? I hate it. I hate it so much.
Number 3.
Nick Gates, who was okay in the game. There wasn't like a massive Quinnen Williams problem, which is really why we picked him. But some of the pressures that were given up, like Adam Archuleta, I thought did a really great job with Spiro on the game. And there were times where he's just like, they should have this blocked. I don't know what the miscommunication was here. I think from a communication standpoint, he probably could have been better. But for whatever it's worth, PFF had him as the 4th best offensive player in this game for them. He had 71.5 grade, 67 pass block, 71 run block. He did have a couple of nice kick-out blocks in the run game. Sam Cosmi continues to play phenomenal ball. He's been grading out in the mid to high 80s week in and week out, which is like Pro Bowl territory. And also, I think it's worth mentioning, shout out, since we're talking offensive line, Trent Scott played really well at right tackle when he came in for Andrew Wiley. So, whatever that's worth. Number 4 is, number 4.
Number 4.
Curtis Samuel. Again, what I envisioned for Curtis Samuel, his impact on the game, they lined him up everywhere. They had him in the backfield. They had him in the slot outside. I will say him slipping and causing Sam to throw his last pass of the day, that hurt a lot.
That hurt. He had a drop on the first drive.
He also had a drop, yep.
But he also had a key 4th down conversion. I will say the first carry he had as a runner where he bounced it outside, if he takes that thing up the gut, I don't know his read, so in fairness to Curtis, I don't know if he did what he was supposed to do. But based off of the alley, if he doesn't bounce that and he stays inside, he might score on that if he just right up the gut.
Yep.
And it's like, hey, there's a seal here. The old Vince Lombardi. We got a seal here and a seal here and an alley here. And Curtis Samuel ran outside the seal instead of up the alley. I thought Curtis was okay.
Yeah, it was like a mixed bag sort of kind of thing.
It just goes to show, like, they can get him the ball. He is dangerous when he gets it, but, he's human and had some human errors, if you will, in this one. All right.
Number 5.
Wrapping up our pick 6 here. Number 5 was Cam Curl. Cam was, again, like, he was okay. He wasn't, there were no huge coverage breakdowns. Love that. He had a couple of nice pass defenses. Love that. But he also had some not great moments, some missed tackles. PFF graded him out actually terribly. He actually graded out as the worst defensive player on the Commanders. 47.2 grade, 54 in coverage, 37. I guess that's like the Breece Hall run they must have put on him, and a couple of the other big runs. But not a great day for Cam Curl, but like the reason we picked him was coverage busts, and they cleaned up the coverage busts. Even though Percy Butler left and Terrell Burgess was playing safety for a little bit, who Terrell played pretty well. Safety obviously had the miss in special teams. But yeah, Cam Curl, kind of a whatever day. Not the kind of day that gets you paid. Number 6, we had Tucker Addington, baby.
Yeah, he was a part of, I'm not going to say he was a part of the special team snafus, but we did get a punt block. I'm not sure if that's on him. Maybe that's on
I feel like Tress was a little bit slow, but like not tragically.
Yeah.
Like he didn't rush it. He thought he would have time. There must have not been a big rush on, and you count on Terrell as the personal pump protector to get a better hit.
Yeah.
And I think Terrell just missed. Like, I think he thought he was going to get a good shot, and then, that's probably how he's coached technique-wise. It's not like a big engage block. It's get a good hit enough to slow it down.
Yep.
Tress will get it off, then you go down and cover, because traditionally that personal pump protector, I mean, that's been Jeremy Reeves and DeShazer Everett in the past. Those guys make tackles on teams all the time on punt coverage. Those guys get out pretty quick in the way that they do it. But they brought that guy clean up the middle, or that guy got loose up the middle, and Terrell didn't get a good hit on him. I didn't feel like the snap was too slow, but I don't know. I also didn't put a stopwatch on it.
No, I would just
Here's what I know. All the snaps got where they were supposed to,
and
everyone else on special teams
way
screwed
better.
everything up. Yikes. What a terrible game. Luckily, we'll talk more bigger picture stuff and less about that game as this week goes on because tomorrow's already Wednesday. Coming up next, Dave Johnson joins us from Capital One Arena. Wizards Magic tonight. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Just after 6:15, actually about 6:19 now. But that sounds like a great time to welcome in our good friend Dave Johnson.
Time to get the radio party started.
Blocked by Bilal Coulibaly. Oh boy, did he stuff him? Left wing pull, it's there. Oh, that's a pool party. Near the basket, slam right there. Oh, the steal and the slam. You better go off. Intercepted by Kispert. Kispert now foul line. Oh, slam. Ooh, that'll dry your preserves.
It's time for Dave Johnson on a Wizards game day.
Kuzma for three. Oh, it's there. It's there. Big shot.
On the Hoffman Show.
Dave with us from the broadcast booth at Capital One Arena. Dave, did you remember where it was without asking for directions?
That's a good question. That is a good question. And you know, we get in this flow of doing it right from our broadcast position on the Hoffman Show. And my wonderful engineer, Tim Parker, had to say, hey, we're at home. That means Craig Hoffman's with you. So I was reminded of that. And again, what listeners should know in all seriousness, while this Wizards team, look, we knew it was going to be a challenge this season in so many ways as we look to develop and build for the future. But also, you know, adding to the challenge was having 18 out of the first 28 games on the road. And so we were on the road a lot. We've got 4 straight here at home, which will be great. It's part of the holiday season, and we're just talking about off air. You know, you're truly blessed. You know, I was asked about did I get everything I wanted for Christmas? I got underwear, and if underwear is what you need, and that's it, I'm so blessed.
I mean, that should go on Anthony. If we had like an all-time quote board for this show, I got underwear for Christmas. I am blessed. Dave Johnson, put it on the board.
I got you.
We don't have one. Also,
Yeah.
that reminds me of the I think it was the old White Sox announcers, like, put it on the board, yes, which we would also need to put a quote on the quote board. This is a bit that's gone way too long.
Yep.
Dave, they have the Orlando Magic tonight.
Yep.
They've been playing. They, of course, being the Wizards, have been playing better as of late. These two teams matched up within the last 2 weeks or so. What have you noticed when the Wizards get a second shot at a team this season? Obviously, you know, when they've had a second shot at, say, Philly, that's not great because Joel Embiid is still the MVP when you face him the second time around. Right. But maybe teams a little bit closer to their level. I know Orlando, record-wise, has been fantastic, but do you notice anything the second time around when you face an opponent this season for these Wizards?
This team is getting better in so many ways. Look, that was a good road trip we had, and I understand 1-3. You know, again, but this season's not about record. It was a quality team win against the Blazers. The Phoenix Suns game could have gone either way. Look, the second of back-to-backs against the Kings, and by the way, the Warriors, a second of back-to-back. I'm not saying if it wasn't the second of back-to-back, the Wizards would have won those games. I'm just saying it added to the challenge of trying to accomplish that. But before we left town, it was a nice quality win over the Indiana Pacers. And so that's what you want to see. Some wins come with more frequency as it turn the calendar on a new year, because this team does believe it is getting better. And there's the metrics that point out it's something we're going to talk about in our pregame show. You know, Tyus Jones, the last 5 games has 40 assists to 5 turnovers. He leads the NBA in assist to turnover ratio. This is also the 6th straight season where he's had more steals than personal fouls. And only 5 other players are in that category in the NBA. So, you know, this is what this season is all about. You know, you're breaking down certain metrics of players. And again, as we talked about, you know, Josh Robbins of The Athletic did a wonderful article about how each player on the roster from 1 to 20 go included, or, you know, you can go right down the list. It's even more than that. And they were given, you know, a long list of metrics, what they were expected in deflections. I mean, categories that we typically don't talk about on radio. And that's as fine-tuned as we're getting in this season. But I come back from that road trip encouraged. It was a 2-point game against the Golden State Warriors at halftime. Then some guy named Steph Curry decided he was going to take over.
He does that. It's very annoying. It's so annoying.
No,
why does he think that that's his place?
Right, and game over. But so headline flash: we don't have a player that can match Steph Curry when he suddenly is goes off like that. But you know, I feel better about this team December 26th than the last time we played the Orlando Magic. And to your point about The first time they played the Magic, they lost, I think, by 20 or something. The second game was a 5-point game.
How do you
They could have gone
when
either
I'm mad
way.
at
Now,
you?
a big part of the disparity, as they really went toe-to-toe in many situations with the Magic are not a good three-point shooting team. In that 20-point victory, the Magic had 17 made three-pointers. I mean, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
In an NBA season, whether you're having a good season or a bad season, the scouting report tells you should do a certain thing, and you do that certain thing, like let the Magic beat you from the perimeter. Well, in that first game they did. So you've got to make adjustments. And tonight, it doesn't change. You're going to try to pack it in, defend the paint. It's going to be a big night for. Needs to be a big night for Daniel Gafford, who's another storyline that's had a big upward trajectory in December because typically that's how the Magic beat teams, is in the paint, not on the perimeter.
No doubt about it. Dave Johnson with us from Capital One Arena. Last thing real quick for you, Dave. Jordan Poole, nice night against Golden State. I mean, 3 for 12 is not great three-point shooting, obviously, but the fact that his shot diet is what it's supposed to be. He gets to the free throw line. He's got 25. I just wonder if there's like a sense of catharsis, a sense of closure for him going back to Golden State for the first time that maybe can be the thing that spring loads his season. Did you notice anything with Jordan specific to being back to Golden State that you take out of that trip?
The one thing, because Golden State, and that's a good question, because Golden State was the last game on that trip, needless to say, we go to Phoenix, we go to Sacramento, we go to Portland. What are people asking Jordan Poole about in every city? So in other words, there was a tremendous build-up to that game, and they gave him a nice video tribute before they introduced him as a starter. And this is just my opinion, and he's not verbalized or said anything, but I have to feel there's a sense of relief that part is done in terms of he's gone back to where he won a championship. And there probably is some closure there for him. Again, that's just my opinion. So that's a good question. And again, I still think the best of Jordan Poole, when I say the best of it, is a more consistent Jordan Poole. That's what we're looking for. But you can tell it's flowing better right now. And that's, I think, been the big question is how this is a team sport. And it's not only about Jordan Poole, but it's how all these players fit in, and certainly I think Jordan Poole, it's a brand new role for him this year, and I think we look for more consistency from him. I think about the last time we were in this building, he probably played his best game of the year, had 30 points, 8 assists, he was efficient, etc. You want more nights like that.
No doubt about it. Dave, great job out of you as always with us, and we look forward to your call and the radio party beginning officially here in just over 15 minutes. Thank you, sir. And we get to talk to you again tomorrow.
Looking forward to it.
Stacked up
Yes.
three of our 4 days this week.
My goal has been to invade the Hoffman show, and I liked your pick 6 that you led, but I want to be at least part of the pick 7 or something. Anyway,
we'll figure out the math on that. Math has never been our strong suit.
No, it hasn't.
Thanks,
Great
Dave.
to be back with you, though.
Absolutely. Our pleasure to have you as always. Glad you got everything you wanted for Christmas. That's Dave Johnson with us, everybody, here on the Hoffman Show. If you missed the first part of the interview, you should definitely rewind on the free Odyssey app because there's fun to be had, and that's why we love having Dave on top of the basketball knowledge. When we get back, we'll wrap up the show. Real things, real people said, into real microphones. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Coming up, well, we're almost done here today. We are wrapping up, and then we'll give way to Dave and Glenn coming up at the quarter till mark, 6:45 if you speak like a freaking human being. They got your pregame show. Anthony, I feel myself just running out of fuel right now. I might need some pilot assist, some co-pilot assist to land this plane.
Is Tuesday getting to you?
It is, because it feels like Monday. We've done basically our usual Monday show, and I think that's like wearing on me, which means tomorrow could be sick, because tomorrow I'm like, oh, it's Wednesday. Let's go!
Yeah.
I also did a hard workout this morning, and I think I'm just slightly under-fueled. Been trying to drink water, but I probably need a little bit more.
A lot more, you know? It's very important to stay hydrated.
Should have brought some electrolytes. You want me to tell you the workout I did this morning?
Uh-oh.
This is if you're into this kind of thing, folks are like, this is great radio. If you're like, nobody cares, Craig, it's not great radio. So just bear with us. So I'm training on Tuesdays with my friend David Magida, who I'll give a shout out to. David is the reigning North American champion for High Rocks. So High Rocks is a very intense endurance workout event that is a mix of strength exercises, machine cardio, and running. Like there's ski ergs, there's sled pushes, there is walking lunges, there is 1,000-meter runs in between all of these things. And David is better at it than almost everyone on the planet and is training towards being better at it than literally everyone on the planet. His goal is to win the world championship this year. And I'm training with him one day a week because in my personal training life, there's some stuff that I do that he's like, I think that would help me. And of course, the stuff he does, I don't do because I'm a regular human and he's elite. Elite.
What are some of the crazy workouts that he do?
Well, these aren't the one that so on Tuesdays.
I'm curious.
We don't even do stuff that I would consider that crazy. Like there's some days he just lifts and lifts and lifts, and he does like so much volume that my body would hurt for 2 weeks if I did that with him.
Yeah.
Wednesday or Tuesdays, I join him for like I would call it aerobic workout. It's not. It's really meant to like build capacity. And so it's more time and distance and like just doing stuff for a long time. So this will still sound crazy to you and probably everyone listening. But this isn't even like what I would consider a hard workout for him. So today the goal was you do 5 heavy push presses. So you grab 2 dumbbells, you put them on your shoulder, you do a little baby squat, you push them up over your head, right? So you do that for 5, and I was doing like 40-pound dumbbells, and then I eventually, some number of rounds into it, dropped down to 35s. He was doing 60s because he's a monster. Then you row, and that's all happening. So it's 2 minutes, 30 seconds to do 5 push presses and then row, and you repeat. So immediately when the timer goes off, you go back to the push presses, and the timer starts again, and then you row. And so you're kind of you are encouraged, it is incentivized for you to get back on the rower faster because the goal is to row 5,000 meters.
Wow. I'll pass. I don't think I want any parts. I'll leave that up to you and your friend, and I'll just admire from afar.
Anthony, that is half the workout.
That is half the workout? Okay.
Yeah. Because what we do is when he does stuff for like distance or for calories or, because like you can ski or row for calories on the bike or on the ergs, I will just go as long as until he hits the goal. So I got over 4,000 meters in. He made it to 5. And then you do the same thing on a ski erg. So like the one where you're just like, Yeah. So I got to 3,800 meters on that. We were between the other stuff that we did before that, which was my part of the programmed workout. we were almost 80 minutes into the workout at that point. I was tired.
Yeah. Well,
and that's why I'm fading at the end of this radio show.
Shout out to you, man. Muscle endurance is not my thing. It sounds like.
Not mine either.
Yeah.
But I'm working on it.
You keep working then, man.
I'm working on it. And it's working.
Yeah.
Like the workouts get I'm a little more productive. They don't get easier. That's the thing. If you're training for a goal, they don't necessarily get easier. Like there's a breakthrough point where they go from intolerable to tolerable,
yeah.
But they're still hard, but you just accomplish more in the time.
Mm-hmm.
And especially like when I'm trying to catch up to the world champion or to the North American champion, like I'm never going to get to a point where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm right there with him. But if I can just close that gap a little bit, teeny bit, then I'll feel good about myself.
Okay.
Can I go from doing 80% of what he's doing to 85%? That'd be great.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. So there's that. Speaking of elite athletes, it's time for Real Things Real People Said into real microphones.
Real things.
We're not going to be so this year.
Real people.
5 and 11. Not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
Anthony, do you have the Real Thing sound up by chance over there on your side of the
like the 3 bytes?
The studio apparatus? Yes.
Yep.
Okay, which one do you want to do first? Because I don't have them up yet.
Okay, so there's 3.
Okay.
There's Steph in the Christmas spirit. He was
Love that one.
And then you have Bill Walton on the UCLA Maryland call, and he was telling everybody what 3 states constitute the DMV. And then we have Winnie Harlow and Coos. I think we should start out with Bill Walton because that was pretty
I think
funny.
we should start off with Bill Walton.
Yeah. And yep. And
he can see colors.
Have you ever been to the DMV there in Washington, Virginia, and Delaware, that DMV area that has all those great players that came from them? Elgin Baylor.
I've been to both that area and the DMV.
I'm surprised he wasn't corrected.
Poor Dave Pasch is just hanging on for dear life there.
Yeah.
By the way, Dave Pasch called, that game was Friday?
Was it Friday? I think it was Saturday. We work Friday.
I know, but wasn't it late night Friday? There was Terps. Dave Pasch worked that game.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was out in UCLA, right?
Yep.
So it was West Coast. Yeah, I think he worked that Friday. Then he does the Cardinals radio.
What Friday?
And then he had the Knicks-Bucks game. So he went L.A., Chicago, New York for Bucks-Knicks.
Good gracious.
And he worked with, I don't know who he works with at the Cardinals, but he worked with Bill Walton and Hubie Brown in the same weekend. What a time for Dave Pasch. What a legend that guy is. All right, I think we go Steph Curry next. This is Steph Curry pregame, mic'd up, wondering who is about to spend their Christmas with him.
I always feel like we should be able to meet the guy or the girl that's got to be on the camera. Just follow me and whoever else is mic'd up down there the whole game. Like, I feel like that's pretty personal. So shout out to you, whoever you are behind the camera. I don't know if I get a wave. There may be somebody over there. They might not have the mic though. That's wild. Merry Christmas to your family.
I love that from Steph.
That was nice.
It's such a human thing. Like, wait, someone's got to follow me the whole game?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen like some of the behind the scenes of like professional camera people working?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, it's wild. Like the people that like follow the ball in the NFL, or like if you have to follow a specific receiver or whatever, their ability to like zoom in, zoom out, get the right shot, like, and that's one thing that's pretty amazing. That's one, like the game cam you and I could operate.
Yeah.
Like that's just back and forth. Like it ain't that hard. There's not that much zooming. The moving is really easy. You keep the whole game in the picture, especially like for basketball, right? The other one that's not that hard, having worked some cameras in the past, like back in college, Hero Cam, not that hard. focus in on the person that scored and follow them. If you have to truly track, like, if you're on Steph Curry ISOCam as much as that dude runs around,
Man.
that's a nightmare.
Good gracious.
But, like, you watch, and then, like, imagine you are on ball cam in the NFL, deep ball, and you're getting that tight spiral shot from wherever you are. That's intense. And then, have you ever, you're not a big YouTube guy, are you? Like, you don't get lost on YouTube watching random videos?
I do.
Okay.
It's what my dad does.
Have you come across the Steve Smith series that he does for the NFL?
Not yet.
So Steve Smith, former Panther, former Raven, current NFL Network analyst, does a YouTube series that just goes around and he like shadows different jobs around the NFL. So he's been like part of the equipment team for one team, and he like prepared the kicking balls before a preseason game for the Chiefs. And he has done all kinds of stuff for teams, for the league during like the international games, the Super Bowl. It's a very, very cool series. And one of the ones that he did recently, I actually thought it was one of the least interesting episodes, relatively speaking, but it was still cool, is he followed NFL films. And to watch like the shots that Steve got and the shots that actual NFL Films camera people got, you see how talented the NFL Films people are. You're just like, wow. You just like take for granted the stuff that they capture. Like, oh yeah, it's a live football game, and we're basically making movie quality stuff out here in 4K. Crazy. Dave Johnson, Glenn Consor on the call for Wizards and Magic. Next voices you'll hear will be theirs. We'll see you tomorrow on the Hoffman Show.